Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 25th. Merry Christmas to everybody out there across the Pacific Northwest or wherever you may be watching from. Taking a look here at the infrared satellite imagery, you can see a strong storm system moving up towards southern Alaska as we speak. Another system will impact Pacific Northwest shown here, bringing some winds and precipitation with it, but all the eyes are going to be turning to this system developing out here north of Hawaii in this very active Pacific Ocean here. This is going to bring a very deep low pressure system off the coast of Washington, Oregon here as we go on in through early this week. We'll take a detailed look at that here coming up. Taking a look at the windy map here, you can see the very warm temperatures along the Oregon coast here. Western Oregon, Washington, it warmed up nicely yesterday and continues to do so today. Some cold air trapped here in eastern Washington. Wintry precip possible at that as we go through the day today. Eastern Oregon kind of warming up pretty nicely too, mainly 30s and 40s. But check out the east slopes of the Rockies here. You can see this wind riding down into Montana. They warmed up quite a bit, 60 plus degrees in some areas out there, getting up into the 40s for many of the areas known as Chinook winds. As these winds come over the mountains, sink and compress, it warms up pretty well. Plus the Arctic air mass is moving off to the east there and leaving our region. Now taking a look here, you can see the Cocoa Rise yesterday. Pretty good precipitation amounts, mainly King County southward. You can see the Olympic Peninsula as well. Down towards Portland, some nice totals showing up as well as places just east of Vancouver there and some of the northern Cascades. You can see the yellow dot is generally an inch or more. The orange is about 1.3 inches, and the red was 1.8 inches or more. So pretty good precipitation maker rolling through the area yesterday, and you can see much less as far as you go east of the Cascades on in through Idaho and Montana shown there. Taking a look here, this is what's upcoming here. This is the European model calling for a pretty strong atmospheric river, even extreme or exceptional possible for some of the southern Oregon coast there. AR4, category 4, all the way up to the Washington coast possible here as we bring some pretty good vapor transport values in here for an extended period of time. As you can see here, this goes over 1250 and it lasts for almost 72 hours, just nipping into the exceptional values there for atmospheric rivers. We'll take a look at some precipitation totals we can expect and what some of the temperatures are going to be at some of the past levels coming up here in a moment. If we look here, you can see BC, Washington, Oregon. This is the vapor transport coming up here. So here goes the first system through there. But notice along the Oregon coast, we're not going to really get much of a break. Once we start this vapor transport across the region, it hangs on. Then you can see the really big values in advance of that next system continuing on through Monday night into Tuesday morning across the area there before we bring that deep low across the Washington coast here and cut off that atmospheric river, send it sprawling southward across California where they can really use the precipitation down there. So very beneficial atmospheric river down there through California that will start up here along the Washington, Oregon coast. Now taking a look here, precipitation totals coming up. As we put this into motion, you can see some of these totals. The first system rolling through here, then you see it start to pile up here along the Oregon coast, Vancouver Island, coastal range through Washington, Cascades, big precipitation maker coming up here, folks, as we go on in through Tuesday. You can see Seattle up over 1.6 inches of rain. Portland, even higher amounts there. Cascades all the way down through Oregon, all the way down the Sierra Nevada into California, even coastal regions as well. Nice precipitation maker, especially the further south you go. This is very beneficial for this time of year through California anyway. And really, there is going to be some flooding concern, but a lot of this area can use the precip. We are in a deficit so far, and hopefully some of this starts to get east of the Cascades here through Oregon too. We're still dealing with some exceptional drought out there across eastern Oregon, but you can see the 10-day period. We got plenty of precipitation coming for the west coast here. Let's just hope we can spread some of that to eastern Oregon, and these values hold true for California. Now looking here, this is Mount Baker. We're going to go north to south here. You can see we're going to spend some time above freezing here. They kind of crash down as we go through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning and stay below freezing for a while. Then you see Crystal Mountain a little bit further south down towards Mount Rainier here. You can see crashing down and maybe just a little bit above freezing. But we're really going to kind of damage the snowpack across some of the Cascades here, or at least melt it and compress it a bit here. And that's why we kind of formed this Cascade concrete. We're going to be dealing with some above average temperatures there, melting at that snowpack. Then we're going to crash it back down, freeze it, maybe drop some more snowfall on top of that. So we're mixing all kinds of layers, which is pretty typical here for the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, up into British Columbia. And look at Crater Lake, the snow level way up there with that atmospheric river impacting southern Oregon, northern California here. But by the the time you go to Tuesday morning here, we really crash things back down here. Then we're going to freeze up whatever snow is left over out there and hopefully start to replenish it as we go through the extended. Now, this is taking a look at the Pacific Ocean. You see the Hawaiian Islands here. Here's the Pacific Ocean. There's BC, Washington, Oregon here. Look at this jet stream. This is about 30,000 feet shown here. And you can see this nosing out towards Pacific Northwest. There goes our first system there as we go through Monday morning. Hot on its heels is the much more powerful storm that's going to come right up on the Washington coastline shown there. And then we're going to drive that atmospheric river down across the west coast there. But a very active jet stream here coming across the Pacific, as you can see. And this is shown Tuesday morning here when that storm will start to impact us. More on that here in a moment. Taking a look here, 700 millibars, 10,000 feet. You can see the temperature gradient we're dealing with here. And this is where the jet stream is forming across the area. Here goes that first system shown here Monday morning. Then you can see this next system, just like an inverted breaking wave here. Very tight pressure gradient coming across the region here. We'll take a look at what kind of wind speeds we can expect here in a moment as well. Now, let's skip this. We already did precipitation, so let's get on into this windstorm a little bit. European on the left, GFS on the right here. Hot off the presses, 12Z run. Put it into motion. Here goes that initial storm up towards Haida Gwaii there. Just misses in the north tip of Vancouver Island. Pretty good winds here coming for Vancouver Island with this system here and across some portions of BC here, as well as the northwest Washington interior up through the Strait of Georgia. Going to get some decent winds out of this first system here. And then you can see the monster just bearing down on us, folks. Pretty good model agreement through all the models really that I've been able to check here. As a 970 millibar low gets very close, extremely tight pressure gradient down the Oregon coast here. Big winds are coming for the Oregon coast. Very high confidence there as we go on in through Tuesday morning and afternoon. And then you'll see a little bit of disagreement here on where exactly this low is going to line up. But the big takeaway is this is big pressure gradient coming across the region. And this could translate inland a bit here too. You're talking about 4, 8, 12 millibars between Seattle and Portland. Once you start getting up over 8 millibar pressure difference here, you can really spawn some strong winds across the Puget Sound. 12 millibars is starting to borderline on major windstorm across some of the interior areas there. We'll see how this works out. You can see the GFS is not quite as robust here with that pressure gradient shown here on the right, but then you see the storm finally move through the area as we go on in through Wednesday morning. So here we're taking a look at the Canadian on the left and the North American model on the right here. Put this into motion. You'll see similar agreement between the models here with the GFS and the European, what I just showed you a minute ago here versus the Canadian, the NAM, the storm system first moving through Haida Gwaii here, impacting northern Vancouver Island. Some strong winds for the northwest interior, Strait of Georgia here, southeast winds. And then you'll see the big low set up off the coastline here. But as we go on into Tuesday afternoon, you can see some disagreement on where this low will make landfall. And that's going to make all the difference in the world for who sees what kind of winds across the area here. There is a potential for a strong gradient across the Puget Sound, Willamette Valley, but the Oregon coast right now looks to be bullseye here. Very strong gradient looking to set up across the Oregon coast. Much more uncertainty as you go inland, north, along the Washington coast as well. Now taking a look here, Brookings, Oregon, big precipitation coming, very high snow levels here, possible flooding for some of the areas down there into Oregon. And look at some of these precipitation totals. All the members basically are up over 2.5 inches. The mean is about 3. The control has over 3 inches in a 24-hour period for Brookings, Oregon there. This is wind speed. Some gusts up over 70 miles per hour. The mean is well into the 60s here. So watch out, folks. It is on its way for the Oregon coast. Gold Beach Municipal Airport as well. A lot of ensemble runs here have over 70 miles per hour. Some have over 80. As you can see, the mean is well into the upper 60s shown there. This is Astoria. The further north you get, we have that discrepancy between where that low pressure system is going to go and just how strong the gradient is going to be. But you can see some above 50 and even 60 miles per hour for Astoria, Oregon here. This is Seattle, Tacoma. You can see some of these ensemble runs have over 60 miles per hour. It just depends on where this low makes landfall. Will it be developing? What will the pressure gradient be like? We're just not quite sure yet. And you can see some lower amounts in here down into the 30s as well. So big discrepancy still right now, but we will know a lot more tomorrow morning. Olympia, a little bit better agreement that at least lower 40s are coming. Some potential for some 50 mile per hour gusts as well down through Olympia. Same thing for Portland there. Some of these ensemble runs have over 50 miles per hour down there for Portland. Now, looking at the European ensemble mean, all 50 ensemble members averaged out there. There goes the first system north of Vancouver Island. Then the big low really bearing down on the Washington coastline there. And this would bring a pretty substantial windstorm here across the Willamette Valley and the Puget Sound. Not it goes without saying here for the Oregon coast and the Washington coast under this scenario here, as that moves through on the day Tuesday and finally gets out of the area as we go on in through Wednesday morning. But a very strong system is coming to the coastline. We just don't quite know who's going to get what in the way of winds, but we know high confidence that it is coming for the Oregon coast, lesser confidence for the Willamette Valley, Puget Sound, Southwest BC, and the Washington coastline. Now taking a look here, this is the European hot off the presses 12Z. This looks at the accumulated 10-meter max wind gust. That first system rolls by here. Pretty good wind gust for the Washington coast, Vancouver Island, some of the northwest interior, Strait of Georgia, like I mentioned. Then comes the stronger one. Very intense gradient setting up along the Oregon coast here. You can see some gusts over 70 miles per hour along the Oregon coast. Looks like more the further you go south, or higher gusts the further you go south. Then you'll see kind of that bent back occlusion feature. This is the occluded front on the backside of that low as it dives into the Oregon coast here, bringing some gusts up over 60 miles per hour, potentially across the Oregon, Washington coast maybe. And then you can see, look at Seattle on this run, 51 miles per hour. Portland getting up to the upper 40s probably. The Willamette Valley, a good blow as we go on in through Wednesday morning shown here. But these are probably going to change as we go into tomorrow morning a little bit here, depending on the exact location of this low pressure when it makes landfall. So looking down towards southern Oregon again, 25 to 30 feet, breaking waves are expected along the coastline there. Use extreme caution. You know, if you're out there viewing these waves, find a nice safe perch, because these are going to be some big nasty waves out there. And you guys know there's rocks and logs in the surf out there. Try not to get caught up. It seems like every year we get somebody that falls victim to the huge waves along our coast. So nice graphic here from National Weather Service, Medford, Oregon. Now this is what's coming up as far as waves are concerned. You see, this is this late morning here, afternoon. We go, some bigger waves approach the coastline, Vancouver Island, Western BC here as we go on in through. This is Monday afternoon here, but look at what's coming here, folks, as we go through the day Tuesday. Huge waves coming for the Oregon, Washington coast. We go through Tuesday afternoon, and that continues on through Tuesday night before it starts to wane into Wednesday. But as you can see, that's one of the reasons why the National Weather Service Medford is talking about these huge wave heights coming out there. So watch out, be safe along the coastline there. So yeah, very active period coming up here. We got multiple systems, and after that one rolls through, the really big one on Tuesday, there's going to be even more. We're going to stay active here as we go through, but pretty typical here for winter across Pacific Northwest. But this has been kind of an unusual one. We've been very active on through November and December now here. So it'll be interesting to see what January brings. You know, maybe we'll take a look at some of the extended models here after this windstorm moves through and things calm down for a day or two. And we'll keep checking things out. You know, La Nina is still in charge across the equatorial Pacific, but we are going to be transferring into neutral conditions and potentially even an El Nino as we go on in through next year. But we'll see how that goes. Model's been hinting at it for a while now. But anyway, thanks to all my new members, all my new subscribers. Again, you guys make this channel possible. You make it worth my while to come do these every single day. And yeah, so we'll pay attention as what this system is going to do as it rolls towards the coastline. We're going to have better information on what it's going to bring tomorrow morning. So we'll talk about it more then. And I hope you guys are having a good Christmas, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning.